Hello viewers, so in this video I will be discussing about the endocrine system of human beings. Endocrine system means the hormonal system of human beings. This endocrine system actually consists of those glands or those organs from where the different hormones are secreted, because we know that any kind of control and coordination in human beings is done by two ways. One is by the nervous system, that is the nervous control. Another one is the chemical control. So the chemical control is done by hormones, and hormones are secreted from endocrine glands. So first I will discuss about endocrine glands, then I will be discussing about hormones in general. So the first endocrine gland that we have is your pituitary gland. So pituitary gland is a small pea-sized gland. It's a small gland, pea-sized gland, which is found in the front part of our brain just below the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is a rounded structure. Now pituitary gland, it is known as the master endocrine gland. It is known as the master endocrine gland. The reason is that pituitary gland will be secreting different hormones. There are three parts in the pituitary: anterior, middle lobe and the posterior part. So the different lobes or different portion will secrete different hormones which will control the functioning of all the other endocrine glands, and therefore it is called the master endocrine gland. For example, from the pituitary a hormone is secreted which is called thyroid stimulating hormone. Okay, and this thyroid stimulating hormone will come and stimulate the thyroid gland. So like that, there are different stimulating hormones and inhibiting hormone which are secreted, which will either stimulate or inhibit, means slow down, accelerate or slow down different endocrine glands. That is the reason why it is called master endocrine gland. Now out of the different hormones which are secreted by the pituitary, one very important hormone is called the growth hormone. So growth hormone, why it is called growth hormone? Because this hormone will stimulate the growth of the long bones. Long bones means the bones of your hands and legs. So if there is, now whenever there is normal secretion of hormones, it's well and fine, but if the hormonal secretion is excessive or less, then it causes much problem in the entire body physiology. So similarly, if there is excess of growth hormones secreted, then the bones become excessively long, bones especially of that of your legs and hands, and such case is called gigantism. People generally 7 feet and above, these are cases of gigantism. Similarly, if there is an deficit or deficiency of growth hormone, then it causes a defect which is called dwarfism. Dwarfism means stunted growth. Now how the pituitary will be controlled? Pituitary will be controlled by hypothalamus. One function of hypothalamus you have got before in the video where I discussed brain is that it acts as the thermostat, controls body temperature. Similarly, there are different neural connections from the hypothalamus up to the pituitary, and there are also endocrine connection, means hormones are also released from hypothalamus which comes to the pituitary, and those will control the functioning of pituitary. So pituitary controls functioning of all other endocrine glands, and pituitary in turn is controlled by hypothalamus by neural and endocrine control. Is that clear? So the next endocrine gland that we will be discussing is thyroid. Thyroid is a bilobed gland. This is one lobe and this is another lobe, found in the neck region just near the voice box or the larynx. So thyroid secretes a very important hormone which is called thyroxine. So this thyroxine, it's a very critical hormone because it controls the metabolism of carbohydrates, fats and proteins. Now you know your body, whether it is growth or functioning of your body, everything depends on these three categories of chemicals. Mainly these are the three categories of chemicals which will determine your body growth and other functioning. So if there is a problem with thyroxine secretion, then the overall functioning of your body will get affected. So there will be both physical as well as psychological problem. For example, like if there is less secretion of thyroxine, the body will experience stunted growth, shortened growth, and the person will be mentally, the IQ level and all will be less. But if it is like dwarfism, only the person will be short in height, but his IQ and everything, his mental development will not be hampered. But if there is deficiency of thyroxine, or there is excess of thyroxine, physically and mentally, both way the person gets affected. So now you have heard about iodine, iodized salt. In the ad, in the TV you see ad of iodized salt. Iodized salt means salt which is enriched with iodine. Now why it is required? Because iodine is required for development of thyroid development, and when thyroid development will be proper, there will be proper formation or secretion of thyroxine. Now when there will be lack of iodine in your diet, not for few days but on a prolonged basis, year after year, there is deficiency of iodine in the diet, then it leads to swelling of the neck portion. So this organ will swell up, and that is called simple goiter. Normally when we say goiter, we mean simple goiter, but why I have written simple goiter? Because there are other kind of goiter like exophthalmic goiter and all. Those are for higher classes. So it causes the problem of goiter. Is that clear? So that is thyroid. Next is your pancreas. Now when we are talking about pancreas, pancreas is an exoendocrine gland. Exoendocrine, why? Because pancreas secretes pancreatic juice, you know, and pancreatic juice will come out through this pancreatic duct, and so it will be carried out of the gland through this duct. As well as pancreas has some isolated groups of cells, and these isolated groups of cells are called islets of Langerhans. These islets of Langerhans is the endocrine portion. So they will secrete the hormones directly into the blood. Those will not be carried out by the tube. And the two important hormones secreted by the islets of Langerhans, one is insulin, another one is glucagon. So insulin, what it does, it converts blood glucose into a storable form, that is glycogen. Just like in plants we know glucose is converted into starch. Similarly, in case of human beings or animals, glucose is converted, blood glucose is converted into glycogen. And it is where it is stored? It is stored in the skeletal muscles and liver. So these are the two major places where this glycogen is stored. So therefore insulin will keep the blood glucose level under check or control. There is another hormone called glucagon. Its action is opposite to that of insulin. What it will do? If the body glucose level falls, because for your body to keep on functioning also you need a particular level of glucose. If your body glucose level falls suddenly, a person may go into a state of coma. So when the body glucose level falls, blood glucose level falls, then this hormone is secreted, glucagon, which will help in converting glycogen back into glucose. So it raises the blood glucose level. So both the hormones are opposite in their function. So you must have heard about people taking insulin. Why they take insulin through injection? Because the person's body may not be producing enough insulin, and even sometimes it happens when insulin is produced but the body cells are not responding to that insulin. So depending on that, whatever is the case, the blood glucose level will increase, and when blood glucose level increases, it causes a disease which is called diabetes mellitus. So when we say diabetes, we generally mean diabetes mellitus, but why I have written diabetes mellitus? It is due to less or lack of insulin, because there is one more type of diabetes which is called diabetes insipidus. Diabetes insipidus occurs due to lack of another hormone which is secreted from the pituitary. It is called Antidiuretic Hormone, ADH. Antidiuretic hormone actually helps in reabsorbing water from glomerular filtrate, that you learned in excretion. So when water will be reabsorbed from the glomerular filtrate, the urine will become concentrated. So that is the function of ADH, antidiuretic hormone. But when that ADH is less, then the person passes a lot of dilute urine, and that is also a kind of diabetes which is called diabetes insipidus. But here lack of insulin causes diabetes mellitus. So therefore the person is advised to take insulin from outside. Next is adrenal. Adrenal are triangular shaped gland located over both the kidneys. Now these adrenal secretes actually different hormones, but the two important hormones of adrenaline is, one is adrenaline. From adrenal, two important hormones, one is adrenaline, another one is noradrenaline. They are also known as epinephrine and norepinephrine. So what is their function? Suppose you face any emergency situation. For example, like you are on a lonely road and you find a dog coming towards you, chasing you. So what happens? Your heartbeat increases, and under that condition, what you will do? You will either shout or pick up a stone and throw at the dog, or you will run away. For all these purposes, shouting, running, or picking up the stone and throwing, you need more energy in your skeletal muscles of your face, legs and hands. So What adrenaline does, it will increase the heartbeat and it will increase blood flow to skeletal muscles of face, hands and legs, so that your body can face emergency situations. Now when the emergency situation gets over, then what happens, your blood flow has to be normalized, so that under normal condition blood flow is regulated by noradrenaline. So that is the function of adrenal glands. Next we come to testes and ovaries. These are the primary reproductive organ, because you know testes produces sperms and ovaries produces eggs or ova. Now apart from producing the male and the female gamete, testes produces a hormone called testosterone, ovaries produces a hormone called estrogen. So the testosterone, which is produced in males, so you see here, this is the symbol for male, this is the symbol for female. So when testosterone will be secreted, apart from development of the testes, testosterone also brings about certain changes in the body on reaching the age of adolescence. We will be discussing this in the reproduction chapter also. And those changes you have got in class 8, if you can recall, those changes are called secondary sexual changes. So what are the secondary sexual changes brought about by testosterone and estrogen? Some changes are common to both males and females. What are the common changes? Sudden increase in height, growth of hair in armpits and pubic region between the thigh area, activation of sweat and sebaceous glands. Sebaceous glands are oil glands. So you start, when you reach adolescence, you start suffering from acne and pimples. So all these are due to these changes. These are the common changes. Apart from common changes, there are gender specific changes, like testosterone leads to cracking and deepening of the voice in case of males. The shoulders will widen, muscles will develop, enlargement of the reproductive organs like testes and penis, and there will be growth of facial hair, beard and mustache. So these are the changes specific for males. And the changes specific for female due to estrogen are development of breasts and mammary glands. Breast is the external structure, mammary glands are the internal glands, which after the birth of a child will produce milk. So that development of those glands are carried out by estrogen. Then widening of hip region. So these are the changes, secondary sexual changes occurring due to testosterone and estrogen hormone. Now apart from all this, there is a diagram in class 10 NCERT book, and in that diagram, though in the description part not much is explained, but in the diagram you will find mention of hypothalamus. I have already told you what hypothalamus does. There is another gland just little bit behind the hypothalamus, which is called pineal gland. So pineal gland is one of the most mysterious gland. It finds a lot of mention in our Vedic textures and yogic texts. So in Vedic text and yogic text, you will find the mention of this pineal gland. It is said that pineal gland secretes a hormone called melatonin, which controls your biological rhythm. Biological rhythm means every day, no matter how late you sleep, at a particular time you will wake up. No matter how long you are waking up, at a particular time you feel sleepy. So this daily cycle of sleep and wakefulness or waking up is controlled by that pineal gland. And it is also, this melatonin is known as happiness hormone. So how happy you are, that will depend on melatonin, since happiness is also linked with sleep and sleeping. Next is parathyroid gland. Parathyroid glands are actually, suppose if you look at the diagram, you will know. Suppose there is the your thyroid gland. In the thyroid gland there are 4 knobs of cells, and these are the parathyroid gland. Parathyroid gland, they secrete a hormone, parathyroid hormone, PTH or parathormone. And this hormone, what it does, it increases the calcium level in the blood. Calcium level means from the bones or from the bones, or you can say it will absorb more calcium from the food. So that is the function of parathyroid. Next is thymus. Thymus actually is a more of a immunity gland belonging to the immune system. Why? Because the hormone which is secreted in the thymus, it is present in your chest portion, in the central region. It's given in the diagram in your book. So it secretes a hormone LSH, like lymphocyte stimulating hormone, which will activate a kind of white blood cell which are called lymphocytes, and these lymphocytes are produced, they provide immunity to your body. So now let us discuss what are hormones. Hormones are secreted from endocrine glands. Now, why these glands are called endocrine? Endo means inside, crine means secretion. Because the secretion will not be brought out by any tube or duct. That's why these are also called ductless glands. So ductless glands, endocrine glands are ductless glands. They will be secreting their secretion or hormones directly into the blood. And these hormones, what are their properties? First property, they are secreted by endocrine glands directly into the blood. First property of hormones. Second, they are very specific in their action. Now, since hormones, all the hormones will be secreted in blood, they will be carried by blood to each and every part of your body. But they will act on only specific portion of your body. So they are very, very specific in their action. They will not perform their action everywhere in your body. Similarly, hormones are secreted in very minute amount. They are not secreted in liters, okay, just like our HCl or gastric juice, but they are secreted in very, very minute quantity, but they are very much potential in their action. And next property is changes brought about by hormones are very slow changes and permanent changes, like increase in your height. It does not occur overnight. It takes many months for your height to increase. So hormonal changes are very slow changes and the changes are permanent, not like nervous changes. Nervous changes, when we discussed about reflex action, you have seen that these are very quick reactions. These are temporary. Your body goes back to the original state. But hormonal changes are slow and permanent changes. Next is secretion of hormone is controlled by feedback mechanism. Now, what is feedback mechanism? Suppose there is a lot of insulin which is secreted in your body. So your blood glucose level will go down. When the blood glucose level goes down, a signal goes to the pancreas so that it will stop secreting your insulin, and if required, glucagon will be secreted. So that is a kind of feedback mechanism which helps in reducing or increasing the secretion of hormones from the endocrine glands. So all the endocrine glands are controlled by their feedback mechanism. So it can be positive feedback. If it is a positive feedback, it increases the secretion from a gland. If it is negative feedback, it will reduce the secretion from an endocrine gland. So this is about the entire thing about the endocrine system of human beings. There are other endocrine glands also, but for class 10 level, you need only these. Thank you.